in our case, to our nonprofits, and to your case, your funders. So the main takeaway from all of this at the end of the day is, listen, your mission matters. You are an organization, whatever you might be doing, that is supporting a group, a class of person, just an area where there's a major need. And more so than ever, nonprofits are in the forefront, and they are helping organizations, they're helping groups that are being heavily affected by COVID-19. So, this article is trying to figure out a way to bring some normalcy back to your day-to-day, and how you can still reach out to your clients, not your clients, your funders, to continue your mission. I'm going to repeat myself quite a bit, mainly because there's just a lot of overlap in all these little sections of fundraising. So, but again, the most important thing that you should all take away is that, regardless of what you think, even if you're not a health focused organization, your mission matters. So just remember that, and you'll be just fine. So these are a couple of the major tips that the article talks about. So first and foremost, acknowledge the situation. This could be as simple or as subtle as you deem appropriate for your mission, but know that you should certainly talk about it. Again, your organization is being affected by this, just like everybody. And you should certainly feel free to reach out and let your donors know this is what we're in the middle of dealing with, and just make sure that you let them know. Be tactful in your ask. Take the time to be creative and strategic in your messaging, but keep your mission front and center. Don't get bogged down or blindsided by feeling like you might not matter, because you do. And so just be aware of that, and constantly keep reminding your funders that that is the case. I'm sure most of you have done this already. I just want to make sure that I touch upon it, but please update your homepage, and certainly feel free to. I just gotta. If you're not speaking at the current moment, just mute your line. Otherwise, I'll hear a lot of reverb. So just make sure you're updating your homepage. You want to make sure, and you want to make sure you have resources available to your to all your funders. So make sure you get that up and running and done. I'm sure also a lot of you are doing this currently because it's the 21st century, and virtualization is just the way of the future. But make sure that you have your fundraising efforts set up and ready to go. Again, we're going to be doing virtual fundraising, virtual events, virtual this, that, and the other thing for a long time. So make sure that you've pivoted in a way that makes your organization ahead of the pack. Adjust your existing campaigns. Make sure that, and we'll go through a couple later on, but make sure you are, pivoting again away from in-person events. If that is what your organization is primarily known for, just small adjustments. Figure out a way, but you'll certainly be able to figure it out. You'll want to make sure you're still touching those certain people that you want to reach out to. Just make a couple of adjustments. Offer engagement opportunities. Allow your donors to get involved in any way you can. This is sort of an offshoot of adjusting your existing campaigns, but it's something that's important. We're all sitting at home. We all have nothing to do. That's actually not the case. I have tons to do, but some of you might not. Some of your donors might have plenty of time on their hands, and more than likely that is the case. So make sure you have the ability to reach out to your donors and give them opportunities to help you. And finally, last but not least, maintain your mission to do good. Just at the end of the day, you and your mission and the people that you serve are important. So keep that always in the back of your mind with however you plan to get through this. So now we're going to go into each of these a little bit more in depth. So again, acknowledge the situation. Your first communication you send out will be the hardest. Again, there's no rule book to how to approach this. We've never dealt with COVID-19 and a worldwide pandemic before, or at least not since polio or, or the Black Plague. Well, this is a new thing that we're now dealing with. So there's no rule book, and we're all figuring this out together. But just know that there's some upside to this. 46% of consumers are still likely to give during a crisis. More so because everybody, all these organizations, they're being hit as hard as anybody else. And again, if you're a food bank, and with all that crazy emergency purchasing that's going out there, you want to make sure that you are getting ahead of the situation and making sure that you let your donors know that, hey, we're in a bad place right now. We can certainly use your help. And just, again, make sure that you are, again, getting in front of your constituents. Again, be clear, be transparent, and thoughtful communication on how the coronavirus pandemic has impacted you. And remember that your donors are invested in your mission. This is something that I think, if you haven't done already, you should certainly. But again, there's no magic wand. You have to figure out what works for your organization and, test the waters. So this one's important because, again, it's a sort of a touchy subject. You don't want to come off as being exploitative with your asks, but you do want to make sure that you are getting in front of all of your donors and being mindful of what you're saying. Whether you're sending an email to address COVID-19 and its impact on your organization, or updating your community through any other channels, be thoughtful in how you discuss the pandemic and request support. So first and foremost, again, maintain the mission. This pandemic is causing you to shift your campaign strategy and messaging, but your mission should always remain the same. Remind existing donors of why they support you. Use a general call to action. Vary the language of your asks, especially if your nonprofit is not in a dire circumstance. There's a couple of examples. Always constantly tell your donors, thank you for your continued support. Your support matters and keeps our mission moving forward. Another one is, together we can keep hope alive. A lot of great pieces of dialogue that you could constantly get out there and say to your constituents, listen, we really appreciate what you're doing. We're all in a bad place, but but you want to stay front of mind with all these. One of my favorite things when I was in development was using stories. Storytelling is the best way to get your point across. It also shows what your organization is doing. It gives them tactile information about how your organization is currently faring in this situation, and also allowing your donors to just see the great work you're doing, because that's what's important. Everyone here is doing amazing work for amazing organizations, so be sure that people know how and what and why and where you are. It's very important. Be explicit in your needs. Do not bury the lead. If you are being negatively impacted, again, you don't want to be exploitative. You don't want to say, "Oh, woe is me," because everyone's in a bad place. But you also don't want to make the wrong ask. You want to make sure that you are clear with your donors how you're being impacted, how your mission is being impacted, the people that you serve are being impacted, and just get ahead of that, get in front of it, and again, it's going to be a lot of figuring this out as we continue to go along. Again, we're about 3 weeks into this craziness. We're all still sort of finalizing strategies around this. So it's something to consider, and again, continuously tweak your strategies around this. Again, this is just a sort of continuation. Be sure to format your email appeals thoughtfully. People are getting bombarded with emails these days regarding COVID. I guarantee if you go into your inbox right now, you'll at least see 5 at your top emails. more so last few weeks because it was a big crunch to get out there and get people notified. But it's going to continue. Everyone, I don't know about you, but if you go into, I mean, even in my work email, it's all over the place. If you go into my personal email, anybody I've ever sent an email address to has updated me about COVID. Everyone has let me know. So the thing you want to be aware of is how do you distinguish yourself from the rest of the pack? You also want to be careful. You don't want to scare people. It's not about fear mongering. It's about being knowledgeable. It's about being informative. But again, that's something I've noticed in a big way. I've honestly stopped opening emails that said COVID on it. So figure out a way to pivot your asks, pivot your email appeals, and stand out from the pack. So this is something I wanted to show you guys. It's about updating your homepage. Now, Simply Smiles is a children's organization that focuses primarily on tribal and tribal children in tribes in the Southwest, as well as Mexico, and tribes on reservations. So in your head, you think to yourself, well, that's not really COVID focused, but it is, because it's servicing children, and these children are being negatively impacted as the rest of us. They are no longer, they don't have the lifeline that they normally have. They are now contending with donations going all over the place, and maybe just not primarily going to them anymore, because of this fear around this crazy COVID-19 that we're dealing with. So what they did was they created this landing page. You go to the website, the first thing that happens is this pops up, and it's front and center. And when I was just doing a little bit of research, I couldn't figure out a way to X out of it. It wouldn't let me X out of it until I acknowledged it in some way. And it's right in front and center. And again, it's a great way to, I don't want to say bombard, but it's a great way to really put it front and center when someone's going to your website. So again, something to consider. If you haven't already, I'm sure most of you have at this point, but if you haven't, consider doing something like this. Again, I'm sure we're all already doing virtual fundraising. It's been around for a while. Crowdfunding, peer-to-peer, fundraising events is...
Now, they are in Q&A. Yeah, that's me here.
Hello?
Yes?
Can you just put yourself on mute really quick?
Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay. We're going to get to Q&As at the end. So, again...
You just move me without me knowing, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Okay, so, again, get online. If you're not already doing virtual fundraising, get to it. I'd assume at this point we've all started doing this. Again, the different campaigns serve different purposes. Again, peer-to-peer are always a powerful way to expand your reach, and fundraising during a crisis is no different. Lean on your most loyal supporters. Make them be team captains. Let them rally out your network and your base, because that's where your consistent loyal donations are coming from. Crowdfunding you can use as sort of a catch-all. People come to your website, they see that the mission, they go, oh, you know what? I think that's a good idea. I think I should focus on that. Maybe I should give a couple bucks. It's a way to sort of catch everything as it's coming in. And then this one I think is the most interesting. So fundraising events are still an option. Many nonprofits are seeing great success turning in-person events into virtual events. Similar to this, so a little bit about JMT, every year we have what's called an Innovate Conference. So instead of doing that, because we've canceled it this year, we're going to be doing a whole bunch of these web series breakout sessions. And I think that's a fantastic idea. It's a great way to pivot. Now for fundraisers and nonprofits, I would be very interested in seeing how this works out, mainly because some of your bigger organizations out there that have galas, which is usually your big fundraising event for the year. Um, I'd be very curious and be very interested in seeing how that translates to a virtual event. So if any of you are currently in the process of planning something like that, um, I would love to hear about it. I'll make sure I put my credentials in at the end, and so you could email me and reach out, because again, as a former fundraiser myself, I would love to know how you're going to deal with that. In my head, I'm thinking about my old organization doing the gala and how that'll translate into a Zoom meeting. So everyone just sort of sipping cocktails on a screen. I think that would be very funny. All right, so let's keep this rolling. So adjust your existing campaigns. This one I think is very interesting. This organization, Core Giving, deals with food pantries. And originally what they were going to do is they were going to have they do this every year where they create a March Madness bracket. And that's sort of how they do this campaign. It's you know, it would work in a bracket format, and but instead of doing that, because March Madness was canceled, they pivoted and they realized, oh geez, we need to make this work now. So what they've done is they've streamlined it. It's no longer a big event. It is now just a general give, and it's all with the focus of feeding hungry children. Again, kids are going to be impacted the most. School is out. A lot of kids get a lot of a lot of services from school, meals, hot lunches, stuff like that. So that's something to consider. We want to make sure that your organization is doing right by your donors. And so if you have a a campaign that is similar to this, think about how you could streamline it, get it out to your organizations, get it out to your donors now, so this way they can start giving as fast as possible. Again, this one I think is fantastic. Days for Girls is an organization that works on health and wellness for women, and with the lack of masks out there, they've pivoted, and this actually kind of falls under that that other situation of get your donors involved. And the reason why I say that is because they have a lot of folks that go out and create these kits, and a lot of them are doing are sewing for these hygiene kits. And so what I think is very cool and very interesting is that they've pivoted from creating those to creating masks. And that is a great way to allow your the folks that champion your mission and love what you guys do, to get them involved. And now they're being a part of a solution rather than just giving money. They're actively being front and center and helping you with your campaign. And then finally, again, maintain your mission to do good, guys. And this just says it all. The strength and resilience of nonprofit professionals are what makes this industry so inspirational. And right now, you need to continue your mission to have a positive impact on the world. I can't express how truthful that is. You're on the front lines of a situation that we've never dealt with before, but you are making the biggest difference. Yes, we are leaning on governments and businesses to do right by the community, but you're what works with the community. You are in the community. You are the ones that are getting the resources to your community first, because you have the ability to do so. So again, just because you think you're not a COVID focused organization or a health and wellness organization, your mission matters. It is something that I cannot stress enough. And again, I know this is a crazy time we're all in, but know that your mission matters. And so finally, I'm sure we're going to share this article with everybody at the end of this, but just want to let you know it's called How to Keep the Lights On at Your Nonprofit During a Global Crisis by Meredith Kavanagh. It's got a ton of resources It's got templates for emails. It's got some great information about how to uh, formulate an ask to your donors that is appropriate. Again, take a look at it. I hope it's been informative. I really enjoyed doing this. Again, I love talking about fundraising. I don't get to do it entirely enough. And now I get the really fun and interesting pleasure of introducing my wife, Jennifer Radicone. She, again, works for Habitat for Humanity. She is the operations manager, and she is dealing with this stuff just like you guys. So I'm going to hand the mic over to Megan and Jennifer. And again, thank you so much, everybody, and hope this was very informative, and have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're really excited to have Jennifer with us, and I'll introduce her again for anyone that may have joined later. But Jennifer Radicone is the operations manager at Habitat for Humanity Dutchess County, as well as being Chris's wife. So we're really excited to have her here today. We're really excited to have her here today just to talk a little bit more about what she does and what she's doing differently in this whole situation. So we do have a couple of discussion points that we want to have with her, but then with time that we have at the end, we really want to open it up to you guys to be able to ask her some questions, things that you might have or wondering about what they're doing or what she is doing differently. So we'll go ahead and get it started off. Jennifer, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know what you do at Habitat for Humanity.
Sure. So I'm the operations manager at Habitat Dutchess, which is in Dutchess County, New York, for those of you that are out of state. We are a very small but mighty affiliate for Habitat for Humanity International. We actually have 2 administrators on staff and a bookkeeper in our office, and then we also have a retail location called the Restore, which sells donated goods and is one of the biggest fundraising arms that we have. But in total, we have 10 staff members, 4 being in the office level administration and the rest being our wonderful retail sales staff. So we are very dependent on our volunteers, and part of my job is to work with the volunteers. I also get the honor of onboarding our Habitat families into our program. And finally, I work on fundraising and events, which is what I'm here to talk to you guys about today.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. So we kind of just want to know how COVID has impacted your organization particularly. What are some things that you've had to change or do differently?
Well, we had to close. So our Restore is, like I said, it's a home goods retail location that all of the profits, 100% of the profits come right back into Habitat to help us build and repair homes. We actually just had our grand opening of our new location in November 2019. So we were just starting to get this beautiful upswing, and then COVID-19 happened, and all of a sudden we went from having, $3,000 to $4,000 a day in sales to having to send an email out. To the first email that went out was to our volunteers, who are also a large part of our donor base. And we had to say, unfortunately at this time, it's not safe for our volunteers to be working either on the construction site or volunteering. So we kind of had to let the cat out of the bag to our donors all at one time while breaking our volunteers' hearts, because our volunteers were actually asking if we could sneak them back into the building, even though it's not safe for them to be there because they had to clean this or whatever it was. So our biggest impact was having to close our store, which is our daily fundraiser for our program. We also, as Chris had mentioned in my introduction, we have several events that happen in the springtime. One is our golf outing, and one is coming up in July, and fingers crossed we're still going to do it, and it's our dragon boat race and river festival. We're still trying to project positivity into that, and I'll go into that a little bit later, but really it was just a matter of, okay, we have to halt everything in our daily lives, so how do we continue supporting the mission of affordable housing even though we can't build houses or raise funds to build houses? And the first thing that we thought of was taking our store, our physical retail location, and bringing it online. So before we even shut down operations, we started inventorying all of our items. They're new every day, so we took lots of pictures, and we started putting together a store actually on Facebook, because that's where our largest audience is. So it was easy for our clients and customers to make that transition online, as opposed to starting up a whole new website or a new store or anything like that, which we eventually, now that we've seen what online can do, we're going to do that when we can open back up again. And it's a really exciting growth spurt that we're going to have. But for now, to save ourselves, we did a Facebook online store as fast as we possibly could.
That's really awesome. Just speaking to your, and fingers crossed for your big fundraiser in July. I hope that is able to happen. Is there anything that you've had to do differently just to get prepped for that? I know a lot of prep goes in way earlier than the actual event. So is there anything else you've had to adjust?
This was our first year. This is our fourth year owning the Dragon Boat Race. And what that is these giant 20-ton boats come down to us from Canada, and they hold 20 people, and you race on the Hudson River. It's a really exciting, crazy thing. And this is our very first year where we actually started planning for it in September for July. Usually, because we're such a small organization and our philosophy is habitat is messy, we usually start planning in March for July. And it's never been that we've had our feet on the ground running. And this year we did. And it was so exciting. We already have over $10,000 raised for the race, but now we had to put a little bit of a pause on it. So one of the things that we did was get together with the Dragon Boat Committee virtually. We talked about worst case scenario, which is canceling. And we talked about what we can do in the meantime. We're really not pushing for registration right now or sponsorship or donations for that particular fundraiser for us. We kind of have put it on pause, but we make sure that we keep doing touches with our audience. So we have a Facebook Dragon Boat page. We have our email list, and we've been sending just, hey, how are you doing? And what's your business doing to further themselves and to help the community? Because we'll talk about it on our page, because the best thing we can do right now is support the businesses that are eventually hopefully going to be able to continue supporting us. We actually had a business that was going to, in exchange for joining our race, they were doing a 5K, and they were going to make us the fundraiser for them. The 5K is being canceled, but they approached us about, would we be okay with if they did a virtual 5K? Because everybody has a smartwatch now, and everybody loves to do their steps. So we will be hosting a virtual 5K in partnership with Crunch Fitness Gym in the springtime. Unfortunately, for our golf tournament, there's really no alternative. But we've just been trying to put the messaging out again to our golf sponsors that are typically signing up with us. What are you doing, and how can we promote what you're doing to help the community? This way, when it is time for us to open back up, they're going to remember us, because we've been contacting them this whole time, because communication is really important.
Yeah, that's great. I love that virtual 5K. That's really so creative. I love that.
Yes.
You just like thought of that and are doing that. That's really awesome. So just going back to kind of your day-to-day operations, how are you guys planning on getting back to where you were prior to having to close? What plans are you making now to when you guys are able to reopen, to just kind of pick right back off where you left off?
So we are, the number one priority, which Jackie mentioned in the keynote speech, is our staff. We are trying very hard right now to keep our staff as whole as we possibly can. Thank goodness for the PPP grant application that came out, although that is not an easy application to be completing, but it's going to allow us to pay our staff in full for the next 8 weeks. So we now have a full team of 10 people that can be operating at home, whereas until this week, everybody was using benefit time and things like that, so they weren't actually working. So right now we're at full capacity with 10 brains and 10 creative minds. So we are trying our best to take a look at our operations as a whole, and each person's taking a chunk to really take the time to analyze it. What's working, what's not working, what doesn't have a procedure for whatever it may be, what needs a policy update, and how can we get all of these things laid out before we open our doors again. Another thing that we're really trying to do is communicate with our donors, both financial donors and donors of items for our retail store. We are going to be back open at some point. So please say, you know, right now everyone's spring cleaning, put your stuff in boxes, and when you're done, you're going to drop it off to Habitat and you're going to get a tax deductible receipt for your donations. And I'm sure, I don't know where everybody's located, but I bet you there's restores out there by you all too. So make sure you check those out if you haven't already. But it is just so important for us in planning right now to make sure that we're just doing touches with everybody. Even our volunteers, a lot of them are generally 65 to 85. So we're doing actual phone calls just to say, hey, how you doing? How have you been? Because you're not on the internet. And a huge push for our fundraising is social media at this point and emails. And for those donors and volunteers that are in that age group that they don't use the computer, we've actually assigned our staff to just start going down the list and making 30 phone calls a day just to say, hey, here we are, and we're not open yet, but we're going to be, and what can we do to help you at this point? Because at this time, we meet every morning as an administrative group to try to put together a plan. And then by like 2 hours later, Governor Cuomo has come on and done his speech, and then our plan is changed because whatever he has said has dictated a change for us. So we're really trying to reflect on what we have and what can we do differently when we are back in operating. How can we take this opportunity to grow ourselves and to get bigger as an organization?
Yeah, thank you so much, Jen. I love that outlook of how can we use this as an opportunity rather as something that's affecting us. How can we see it as an opportunity to really come back stronger and better and be able to serve more people. So I love that. Now I really want to open it up to our participants here. If you have any questions for Jennifer, you can go ahead and ask those. If you don't want to, say those out loud, if you do want to chat me privately, you can chat me, Megan Mendiola, with your question, and I'd be happy to read those out. But if anyone does have any questions, I'd love to turn it over to you guys to ask Jennifer anything you want.
Can I ask you guys a question of what are your organizations doing, or are they all along the same line?
Yeah, if anybody wants to share just how their organization is kind of adjusting their fundraising, if you've had a fundraiser planned and you've had to make an adjustment, we'd love to know kind of how you guys are adjusting to that and what creative ideas that you've had.
Hi, this is Allison Kincaid. I'm with the Colorado Parks and Recreation Association. I don't always have a lot of success with Zoom. I live in the country. My boys are homeschooling right now, so if you suddenly can't hear me, I apologize. We are a Park and Recreation Association. We serve professionals who are out there in Parks and Rec who are being hit really hard by this. They're municipal, local governments who don't qualify for a lot of the CARES Act support. So there's a lot of layoffs. And there's going to be a long-term fiscal impact on us, probably well into 2021, I think, for everybody. So for us as an association, we just buckled down and said we are going to do everything for free right away. We're going to set up weekly phone calls. We reached out to what we call our industry partners, and those are the people that want to sell products to our professionals, and ask them to sponsor webinars. So we're offering relevant, timely, free webinars to all of our professionals, sponsored by these companies. It's a low ask. It's only $250 right now to sponsor, but a really nice marketing ploy for them. The other thing that we did is we offered unlimited free memberships to any professional for 3 months. So we want to eliminate barriers to this experience for everybody. We want to be top of mind for everybody. We want to be the place in Colorado for park and recreation professionals to get support, networking information, and that's what we've done. And so far it's been really popular.
Awesome. That's really great.
I just wrote it down, Allison, that the sponsored webinars, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, you know, and we made it kind of a small ask because some of those companies are laying people off too, sadly.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like, hey, it's just a little bit, just enough to help us pay a good speaker, just enough to help us keep somebody paid for that week on staff, you know. And we didn't get a lot, but we did get about 4 or 5.
Nice. That's awesome.
That is awesome. I love that. Webinars have been so popular, but just the sponsored idea of sponsoring them is just so creative and so great.
I wish I would have invested in Zoom before all of this.
I know. We missed out.
Damn.
Does anybody else have any stories they want to share?
Ooh, the sun's coming out. Sorry.
I'm Kevin Barry, and I'm from Boston. I work for a nonprofit that works in partnership with Boston Public Schools and trying to give kids opportunities for things outside of school to do. Some of it is also school day activities and enhancing social emotional learning. But one of our key programs is keeping kids active during the summer, which we partner with lots of community groups to provide learning during the morning and then activities possibly associated with that learning, possibly not, in the afternoons. And we have a really large participation of kids and partnership programs. There may be a community rowing group or an outward bound group, all kinds of YMCAs, all kinds of groups. And now the funding for those activities is naturally on hold. And we are like an intermediary. We provide money. We get money from philanthropy and we provide it to the direct service organizations that we partner with. But those organizations also need fundraising in order to supplement what we're able to find for them and what Boston Public Schools can provide for them. So I also wrote down that suggestion about sponsors. Some of what we do is webinars and professional development, but I think that our partnering programs are also doing something like that for their kids while the kids are at home. And I'm thinking, couldn't they find a sponsor for their outreach to the kids and doing online programs, which everybody is doing for free just to keep their names out? But I love that sponsorship idea. We do similar to what Jennifer does, and probably everybody, the constant reach out to all our programs. How are they doing? Just sort of to, in one aspect, to make sure we know who's failing and might need some help. And if we can direct them to something, that's good, because we don't want to lose programs in case everything opens up and by July 1st and everybody's ready to go. We don't want to lose the opportunity to help the kids. Additionally, if things don't open up, we are looking at resources for doing online learning during the summer, which may tell the kid to go out in the yard and do a project and come back to, do some learning. Who knows? But those are the programs that we're trying to do in the background. So if we can keep in touch with all the partners who are doing the actual direct service, then we'll know what their needs are, and we can see if we can coordinate with either the consultants who develop these programs with us or the funders who help fund us. And so I think that the constant reach out, we have weekly staff meetings online, but in the meantime, the staff is doing all this reach out work. So when I hear them report back, like, holy mackerel, all they do is they must be on the phone all day long trying to reach out and make sure everybody's still in touch. So I think that's a huge thing that Jennifer mentioned.
That's great. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, I love the constant communication. I think it's so critical in this time that you're just reaching out and still being able to reach people as often as you are. So that's awesome. Does anybody have, we just got a message from Missy that we have about 10 minutes left in the room. So we'd love any additional stories that anybody has of what they're doing.
Anybody? Don't be shy.
So this is Allison again in Colorado. Just something fun that we've done is, we started a newsletter that we're sending out every morning that's all positive, uplifting Parks and Recreation stories so that people
Nice.
are starting their week off on a positive note before they get buried under all of the COVID-ness.
That's smart.
That's
That's
I love
smart.
that.
Recontextualizing everything and refocusing what's really good about all of this is, I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, we just like to share, hey, you're essential, you're appreciated, you are the reason we have parks, trails, and open space, and remember that, and here's the good that you're doing.
That's awesome. Love that.
I think that's one of the most important things, is to let the donors know that everything that they're doing, even if they're not doing anything right now at home, is essential, because that is, you know, there are so many ways to approach. And when I first started at Habitat, whenever I would do a fundraising campaign, I would always say, this is how you're going to help Habitat. But really what it is this is what you're doing to help the people involved in Habitat. You're not actually, you are helping my organization, but you're actually impacting these other human beings too. And sometimes I think that's such an easy thing to get lost in, especially right now when we're bombarding people with COVID-19, this, that, and the other. What our executive director's been doing is similar to what Allison mentioned. She's been doing a weekly newsletter, and it is addressing COVID, and it's addressing that we need funding. But she also goes really personal with, you know, this is how I'm feeling. This is what my family is going through. You know, this is the help that we need. And then it's allowing our donors to see a different side of our organization, as opposed to it being a money hungry toned email, which it's very easy to skew that way in a time of crisis.
Mm-hmm.
So true. Yeah, I love that. It reminds me of John Krasinski. I don't know if you've seen John Krasinski's Some Good News.
Oh my God, yes.
Yes, that he does in the mornings. Just like taking people's minds off. Yes, like the news is very constant, giving us a lot of critical information, but just to take everybody's mind off that for a second. So I love how you're doing that, but with like Parks and Rec specific theme, Allison. That's really cool. Made me smile. I want to subscribe to that. I want to see if I can get that sent to me.
Yeah.
You're in Austin, and I love that.
Well, we're still working on it. The sad thing is that everybody's kind of, you know, down because they're having to lay off seasonals and part-time staff. So we're still trying to get them to share those stories. They're out there. We know they're out there. You know, we have park and rec agencies that are helping homeless by allowing them to stay in their shut facilities because those homeless are demonstrating that they have symptoms and they need a safe, warm place to sleep. So there's some cool stuff out there. I have a great younger communications person who's working on trying to pull those out. So maybe shoot me an email, and once we get them to be a bit more robust, I'll send it your way.
Yeah, I love it. I definitely will reach out because that just sounds awesome.
Well, this has been great. Anybody else? No?
Yeah, I have a quick question actually for you, Jennifer, and anybody else who has. Just shifting a little bit away from fundraising, but still really critical, just how your organization, Jennifer, has just kind of adjusted to just remote style working when it comes to connecting with each other. Because I think keeping connected with the people you work with is so important. So how have you guys kept connected with your coworkers while you guys are kind of in a remote style now?
It's very interesting. I think everyone's experienced the can you hear me, can you see me, now I can't see you, now I can't hear you type of conversation while they've been setting up their Zoom meetings or whatever it could be. But one of the really important things for us was once we realized that we could have our staff work from home remotely, our manager polled the staff individually just to see what resources they had at their house, because we work in a low income area and we came to find out that over 50% of our staff don't have the internet at home. They just go online over their phones. So we do a weekly chat with all 10 staff on Zoom. And then assigning them tasks, it's been a little bit of a challenge just because you can only do so much on your phone on the internet. But we've been trying to send funny memes and texts and all of that just to keep it light with them. And now we're trying to figure out who has what skill sets so that we can best support them so that they can work and can get paid for working. So it's a little bit of a catch-22, but it's been working out pretty well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just think that's so important to stay connected. And I know, like, just for Chris and I here at JMT, we've just been trying to think of ways that we can stay connected. We're already in several different offices to start with. So but in the different offices, like, I know for our Austin office, we're used to seeing each other so much every day. We've actually have like virtual lunch on Fridays.
Oh,
nice.
So sweet.
Yeah, so we're all just gonna get on Zoom, eat lunch, get able to talk like we used to do. We would used to get Fridays, we would go out, all get lunch together, bring it back, just be able to talk. And so we missed that a lot. So we're just like virtual lunch together through Zoom, just like this, just eating and talking with each other. So just any ways that we can to stay connected, because even like what Jackie was saying, even introverts, extroverts, I think we're all just kind of missing the day-to-day of getting to see your coworkers. You don't realize how much of an impact they make. Yeah. And they're like,
I'd say Chris and I are very built for being home, but I very much miss the connection of talking to other people. Buster's great company, our dog, but I miss staff. I miss my volunteers. They're such a happy group of people that actually want to be there because they're giving their time. They're not being paid for. So I miss being around my volunteers so much because they really are just a positive piece of the day, no matter what day it is. Social media is huge too. Tagging each other and doing little contests, and we have this calendar of gratitude that we made. So like for every doorknob you have in your house, you have to put 5 cents in your piggy bank for Habitat for Humanity. So now all of our staff are competing for who has more doorknobs and who can do the most sit-ups and all these other things. So it's kind of been great.
That's really cool. I love that. I love that. I feel like that's something you could even extend like out kind of to the public.
Yep.
That would be like
we
cool
put
challenges.
It out to everybody. So we have staff and we have social media fans that are participating. And you know, it's only pennies and nickels, but maybe you'll come out with $10. And if 10 people do that, then we raise $100. So, and it's very kid friendly and family friendly. So everyone can do it together when they're home.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, if anybody else has any things that they've been doing just internally or externally with people just to keep connected, we'd love to hear that in your organization, how you've kept connected with each other. We'd love for you to share that too.
So this is Allison again, and Parks and Recreation people are a lot of fun. So we've had last Friday a happy hour at the end of the day with my board and my staff, and we all had our beer, and everybody got to show their dogs and their puppies and be photobombed by their kids. And it just made it really personable and friendly and a way for us to connect more personally than we would in the office. And we would definitely do it again.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. I know your organization sounds awesome, Allison. I love it. You guys sound like so much fun.
Man.
You know, we were actually going to include some Parks and Rec gifts into our presentation today. We really should have. We really should have.
I sent you that, Chris. It was a Parks and Rec. Some kind of gift. Yeah.
Damn it. Missed opportunity.
So
That's
Megan,
great. And go ahead, Kevin.
Megan, unlike Allison, who finishes the week with a happy hour, our group starts the week on Monday morning at 8:30 with like a breakfast time.
Nice.
Because we've noticed,
that's great.
We've noticed that during the staff meetings that the boss is like, okay, what's everybody doing? We need an update, blah, blah. And then the staff meeting time is gone and we haven't really chatted. So we said, well, we need some time just to say, oh, what happened over the weekend, or where are we? Let's get focused, you know, and have some me time rather than some company time. The same thing as a happy hour, but the morning.
I love it.
That's awesome.
We actually here at JMT, I think we have a couple minutes left. So if I get cut off, No big deal. So at JMT, we normally have a monthly staff meeting, and it happens middle of the month, just to sort of see where we're at. And now, because of COVID, we are doing it every Tuesday. And it's not a happy hour, which I wish it was. It's not a breakfast. I wish we could. I actually got yelled at for eating one time, so I wish we could eat on it. But it is a great way. It's nice because normally it's quick. It's like a quick 30 minutes. Here, this is what Jackie has to update us on, and it's usually at the end of the day, so everyone's sort of wanting to just sort of go on and do what they have to do for the rest of the night. So she keeps it short. But we actually, a lot of us end up staying on for a few minutes just to chit chat. And I work in probably the smallest office in the company, which is strangely in New York. But it's only 5 of us. And so we're like a small little close knit little family. And I don't get to see them anymore. And that stinks. So we usually get to hang out a little bit more once the meeting's over, and we'll chit chat, and that's always nice and it's fun. One of my favorite things though is we have a woman who we're about to end in 30 seconds, 60, whatever. She really quick. Her son, Allison mentioned kids photobombing. Every single time we have a meeting, Laura's son will be dressed up in some kind of outfit and will just sort of pop his head in. And it is the funniest thing. And we're all on mute, but you could see everyone's face just start cracking up and laughing. It is just really, really, this is such an interesting time, guys. And I'm sure we're all feeling the same way. But with the last 20 seconds, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. This was a lot of fun. We're glad a couple of you stuck around and wanted to hang out with us for a little bit longer. I know a lot of folks had to jump off. They have other calls for the day. But again, we really appreciate it. We hope we could do more of these. If we do, please come and join us. And with that, we have 5 seconds left. I want to say thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
guys. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.